Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. I hope y'all like this video, and I hope y'all subscribe to my channel for more videos like these, as I typically do not make videos like these. But anywho, let's get into the video. So, I live in the United States of America. I believe most creators live in the United States of America. This is where social media was really built upon. It was all started here in the US. Now, America just no longer stands for something. I just don't understand why. For me, I think it is the downfall of the centrist way, where you had a middle ground for everything from the left to the right. This was popular in the 90s and even in the 2000s. However, both the parties, Democrats and Republicans, have shifted further and further and further from the center ever since. With the increasing polarization, it's making it harder and harder and harder for America to move forward, which is why I'm going to be talking about today. Because of both the socialist side and the MAGA side, we cannot agree on anything. They can't agree on anything, we can't agree on anything. Sometimes some communities will get into fistfights over beliefs, which is okay. You should have the right to express your own belief in America, but I just don't know how America will continue. But it's not just that. It's also the policies that this sort of right-wing with sort of Trump has implemented. He's a right-wing populist, which, if you don't know what a populist is, it's basically a person who basically campaigns on the idea on popular policies trying to be initiated. However, the problem with populist leaders are they tend to be unrealistic. And Trump is way unrealistic. As of October 9th, by the time I'm making this video, which is October 9th, he has made a deal with both Israel and Hamas. If you don't know who Hamas is, it's basically a terrorist organization, according to Trump. For me, I call it a militant organization, not a terrorist. But Trump is making it harder and harder and harder for us Americans to agree on any sort of issue. Basically, the Reagan, Bush, and Clinton eras are done. They're behind us. And those eras were supposed to define us with moving to the future. Ever since 2017, it feels like we're in a stagnation period, which is accumulated to what both Trump and Biden have done. And Trump's second term is making things a lot worse. Like, for example, immigration. You're seeing ICE target a lot of people across the country, especially ones that live in immigrant-related neighborhoods. As of the recording of this video, which is October 9th, Trump has sent the National Guard to Portland. About to say Poland, but that would be wrong. He is thinking of sending the National Guard to Chicago, which I strongly against using so. I'm worried that he might target New York next. And if you guys do not know what New York looks like, on the outside of the main hub, which is Manhattan, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. You have a lot of immigrant communities that live side by side with one another in the New York City boroughs. It's not just Manhattan, but it's also the Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and the Bronx. Manhattan is where all the work gets done. The other four is where most of the backbone of the economy comes from. So Trump is trying to target that next, I believe. I think that's what he's going to do next. But it's not just immigration that I'm also worried about. It's about what are we doing as a whole in the U.S. right now. I feel like there aren't a lot of creators that are talking about the current state or the current existing condition of the United States of America right now. I feel like it's just me. The other people that are just talking about it are just news media outlets like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC News, basically every major network. Basically every major network. But my worry is, if they are doing the talking, then we can't do the talking. By the way I mean we, I mean us social media creators. I feel like we have to stay neutral. We can't be involved in politics, which is what I agree with. However, when it comes to tough difficulties like the way that we are right now, I feel like that it's possible for us to basically talk about the current state and existing condition of the United States of America. I have a bright future ahead of myself. I'm 16. I will be an adult by the time by the time the 120th Congress starts. Congress each term of Congress is about 2 years. So we're in the 119th term. The 120th term starts in 2027, January 3rd to be exact. But it's not just immigration that's on the backbone of what's happening right now. The economy is in stagnation. Where can we get everything? We don't know. Tariffs are just stupid as a whole. Why are you charging a tariff on a consumer? Didn't you just say, Trump, back in 2024 when you were campaigning in multiple swing states, that you were going to fix the economy? Well, I mean, the economy has been a lot worse since you came into office. That's fact. That's fact. I went to the grocery store about a month ago. I didn't record because they wouldn't let me record, and the price for a box of cereal was about $4. $4 for a box of cereal. Are you kidding me? That's how much we pay. That's how much we would not pay for. A box of cereal would be $2.50 to $3, but why $4? But it's not just stores. It's also fast food chains. I remember 10 years ago, McDonald's was the ultimate go-to when it comes to value. Now it's just as expensive as casual dining, which is just like Chili's, which is like TGI Fridays, which is like Red Lobster, Red Robin, Buffalo Wild Wings, and many, many more. Those are casual dining restaurants. They're not fast food, but they're more premium, I like to say. And for the first time, and I think ever, they are priced at the same price, most of them, priced at the same as the fast food counterparts. McDonald's has overstated the prices. Burger King has overstated the prices. Taco Bell has overstated the prices. Chick-fil-A has overstated the prices. And many, many, many more. Many, many, many more have overstated their prices. Which is fine if you're paying your employees a lot. But if your employees are not paying a lot and you're just increasing the prices for sake of profit, then that's where we get the problem. Why are we paying the billionaires to be richer and richer and richer? Does that make sense? So, that's the economy. What's the next issue I was gonna go through? Oh yeah, trade. We're just on our own. Trade is basically not existent, as I like to say. We've basically broken off relations with Canada. We've broken relations with Mexico. Basically, the entire world. We've upheavaled a lot of the shit. I'm using shit in a fine term. It just feels like that we are being more and more isolated in the world, all across the world, I would say. But why are we drifting away from other nations if those nations could be valuable for us? Like, again, another example, China. We trade with China a lot. However, I would limit, if I was the president, I would limit uh, anything that comes from China and use India instead, because India has a growing labor force. So I would like to use India as a counterpart and China essentially get the boot out. The reason why I don't like China that much is because it's a communist state with one-party rule that's been ruled by the communists since 1949. I have a general dislike of communism, so yeah. But that's it for trade. Let's move on to the wars. There are 4 that I like to talk about. Maybe five, but let's talk about 4. First one. The first 2 or even 3, you guys have not heard. Yemen. Back in March, there was a huge group chat leak about whether or not we sent missiles to Yemen, which I don't know how the heck the leaders basically leaked an entire chat. It was through an app called Signal, which was unsecured. But they were basically talking about whether or not they should do airstrikes in Yemen. They did, but it was so stupid. But yeah, Yemen is a toaster right now. Yemen's not talked about that much, you know what I mean? The next one is Sudan. Sudan has been going through a civil war since 2023. If you want to talk about the beginning parts of it, you could say 2019, but that was when Omar al-Bashir, the president of Sudan for many years, was deposed of his rule, and it seemed like democracy would be coming to Sudan. However, 4 years after, the two leading generals, Burhan and Mendy, I believe, or Mendy. Yeah, I forgot his name. Burhan and one other guy. They basically disliked each other, and they started to distrust each other, which led to a civil war. Basically, the Sudanese army is basically going up against the Rapid Support Forces, or which, like the locals call it, the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed have destroyed everything. Basically, Sudan's not talked about that much, but many world leaders are not talking about it. I just want to talk about that. Third is Myanmar. Since 2021, Myanmar has been deposed. Since February 1st of 2021, the democratic government in Myanmar was deposed. It was couped out, and the military took control. The military is backed by China. Just letting you know. The military is backed by China, which caused a civil war to go on between the pro-democracy forces and the pro-regime forces, which are backed by China. The pro-democracy forces are scattered. But the problem is, I just learned this from a recent video, basically both sides, pro-regime and pro-democracy, have been using a sparse area in Myanmar as a bait. What I mean by bait, I mean scam call centers. Scam call centers, you be searching for not cocaine. What was it? You search for opioid, you search for heroin, you search for cocaine, you search for ecstasy, basic crack. You basically search for every illegal drug. Basically search for every illegal drug in that sparse area. But yeah, that's Myanmar. But now let's head into the 2 significant wars that shaped the U.S. First of which is Ukraine/Russia, where Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022 at exactly 8 a.m. Ukrainian time. I believe. At 8 a.m. Ukrainian time, they invaded Ukraine. Yeah. Basically, Putin has went on the offensive, Zelensky is on the defense. Basically, the war is at a stalemate. It's at a stalemate right now. There is no victor right now. I don't think we will have a victor. Ukraine has been backed by NATO and the US for many years. It seemed like Ukraine would get into NATO, but it won't happen most likely because of Putin. Putin seems like a tough guy, but on the inside he's very, very weak. He's very, very fragile. He basically makes stuff up, and it seems like he is that strong of a leader. I don't compare him to a bear. I compare him to a fox. Okay, moving on. And now let's head into the war that everybody's been talking about, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And this war didn't start in 2023. No. It started back in 1917. It started back in 1917 when the British decided to basically have Jews into Arab land, which that land would become Palestine, which would become mandatory Palestine after the British defeated the Ottomans in World War I. Once the partitions of basically the former Ottoman Empire were basically done, with both Britain and France taking part of it, France took Syria and Lebanon, the British took Iraq, Jordan, and mandatory Palestine. Basically, the British decided to use the divide and rule campaign, which has been used throughout most of their colonies. India is a very, very good example of the British using divide and rule. And in 1947, the British decided to take the issue of partition over to the UN, and the UN decided to vote on the concluding resolution in April of 1948, giving 2 independent states, one for Jews, one for Palestinian Arabs. However, Israel accepted the plan on the 14th of May, and on the same day, the Palestinian Arabs were like, wait, we have double, maybe even triple the population of the Israelis, and we get 42% of the land? Heck no! And then 24 hours later, all of the Arab countries that surround Israel invaded Israel. Basically, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Lebanon all invaded Israel. Guess what? Guess who won? Israel won that war. Basically, pushed all the Arab countries out and took the remainder 20% of the land that was supposed to be brought to the Palestinians. But in the peace plan, Jordan would take control of the western portions of Jordan, and Egypt would take control of the Gaza Strip. Now, by the time 1958 rolls out, Israel realized, oh shoot, we are trapped between one member of the UAR and another member of the UAR, which is basically Egypt and Syria. Once those two have been dissolved, and once especially Syria transformed into the Ba'athist state, Israel realized, oh shoot, we can invade. So in 1967, they invaded Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, starting the 6-day war. War was pretty quick. Israel won that war. They took the Sinai, they took the Golan Heights, they took the West Bank. That's 6 years after Syria and Egypt decided to invade Israel. Jordan decided not to get on it because that's not their problem, but Israel won that war. However, Israel decided to give the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt by 1982, and a UN buffer zone has been established between Israel and Syria through the Golan Heights. By the time the 80s and 90s come around, these Arab nations realize, oh shoot, we can't fight Israel. We decided to support Palestinian militants that will fight with Israel. One of them was Hamas, which is a militant organization. Not a terrorist one, a militant one. By the time the 90s roll around, Palestinians were very tired of the racist ideologies the Israelis had decided to give, so they wanted a Palestinian state. One was not given to them, and then they settled out in the Oslo Accords in '93, which is headed by Bill Clinton, to figure out a Palestinian state within the next 5 years. Didn't happen. So basically, the Oslo Accords brought us up to what it is today. Palestinians and Israelis are divided on the issue. However, they are starting to come back together on part of that issue. But the fact of the matter is, the war between Israel and the people in the Gaza Strip is just it's just really bad for humanity right now. It's just a genocide over there. But I don't want to talk about it. Okay, so with all that in mind, I feel like everything is just not right now. I feel like America has decided, you know what? Let's just be on our own, leave everybody else to rest. You may need everyone else to rest, but you can't move forward unless if you have the backing of everyone else. That's all I'm saying. Okay, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe to the channel. I hope you share this video to everyone else so they can enjoy this. And I hope I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.